Welcome to the Cultist King podcast. I'm your host, Rambling Bones, joined by my co-host, the Duke.
Howdy.
And we're back.
Did you miss us?
We
had to go get some milk, but we brought it back.
I think it's the excuse we gave last time. But Bones had the flu and then oral surgery, so we've been busy.
Wow, you should see Bones right now. He's all kinds of messed up.
I
don't think they put all the teeth back in the right place.
We apologize that this Christmas episode is not coming out in time for Christmas, but it was my pick, and for this episode, I chose Santa's Sleigh.
I think this movie would be interesting enough for anybody to watch, regardless of whether it's Christmas time or not.
Yeah, it is sort of a movie you could probably just watch any time of the year. Much like A Nightmare Before Christmas, but while A Nightmare Before Christmas is a classic and a piece of art.
This one is a super classic.
Yeah, this is a super classic. It's
Hey, I'm just saying, Nightmare Before Christmas, it's very beloved, but it doesn't have former WCW and former WWE World Heavyweight Champion Bill Goldberg in it.
Yeah, that is the main selling point of this movie, is Bill Goldberg, who plays Santa Claus. A brief plot synopsis is you got your main character, Nicholas, and he lives in Hell Township. And his grandpa's a little kooky, and they don't celebrate Christmas because Grandpa, he hates Christmas. But something's different this Christmas, because it turns out Santa Claus is not a big jolly guy, but rather the son of the devil, who lost a bet with an angel, so he had to spend 1,000 years giving gifts to kids. But now the 1,000 years is up, and he is out to get the angel who he lost the bet to.
Well, and everybody who's kind of just there.
Yeah, anybody who's just in the way. I won't even say in the way, because he definitely just goes out of his way to just kill people.
In some pretty inventive ways.
Yes, but it turns out the angel is actually Nicholas's grandpa, who I guess gave up his immortality for Nicholas's grandma. Apart from Nicholas and his grandpa, there's Nicholas's sort of girlfriend, Mac.
Is too good for him.
And she's also like a redneck.
More like, yeah, her dad is like...
Was it the Gun of the Month Club?
Yeah, and... she's kind of like a sweet, like, blonde next door, but she also, like, loves guns.
And yeah, that's essentially the movie right there. There's not a lot to this movie, if we're being honest. I would say it's like a slasher movie in that, it's everything is just a setup for Santa Claus to kill or cause chaos, but it's not exactly a slasher movie formula. But the main point is Santa Claus is Bill Goldberg, and he is wrecking things.
And he does. I'm going to tell you right now. So, towards the end, we usually do like, hey, do we recommend this? Do you want to know if you're going to like this? Go onto YouTube, look up Santa's Sleigh opening or Santa's Sleigh dinner scene. They're the same scene. And if you enjoy it, you're going to love this movie. If you look at that and be like, what did I watch? Then skip this one.
Yeah, the movie
really establishes itself in its opening scene.
Yeah, the opening scene... Well, the opening scene's weird because it has nothing to do with the story. It's literally just like, this is set dressing. But the scene is a family having Christmas dinner, and of course they all hate each other and they're terrible. But what's really weird about the scene is the family is James Caan, Fran Drescher,
Chris Kattan,
and Rebecca Gayheart. There's like two others there who are not notable, but those other four are notable. Santa comes down the chimney and proceeds to kill everybody.
He like belches fire into Fran Drescher, and he kills somebody with like a Christmas star.
Yeah, he throws like the star off the tree like a ninja star. James Caan gets both of his hands like stabbed to the table, and then I believe he is force-fed chicken to death. Which again, a very, very weird place to see those four people. And that brings me to another weird sort of thing about this movie, is this movie feels low budget, but with a budget.
Well, and that's just probably a compliment to the director because after watching some of we actually had the DVD version of this, so I got
Shameful, I know.
It's a Christmas staple. So I actually got to watch some of the stuff, and the director kept talking about a lot of their decisions were informed by the fact they had no money. I'm surprised they were able to get. I mean, I guess all those notable actors are only in there for about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But I was surprised they were able to get them. But he said that he put all of them in there because, he wanted it to really feel like anybody can die, anything goes, there's no rules.
Well, that, and you can attach their names to the film, and
You
hey,
can.
this movie's got James Caan in it. Yeah, that opening scene, by only Bill Goldberg carrying over from that scene, it pretty much establishes this is the movie. If you do not like this, you will not like the rest of the movie. The actual writing and the story and stuff, the story is not, it's not bad. It's kind of a silly story, but it's not.
But it's also kind of a silly movie.
Yeah, it's kind of a silly movie. It's not necessarily bad. I will say some of the acting from our two main protagonists is a little lacking, but I feel like that's because they inserted like one-liners into the script that just didn't land for me.
It might have been more of a writing thing.
It could have been a writing thing, but also could have been these actors are not, they're not Sylvester Stallone. They don't know how to give a one-liner.
Now, somebody who does give a lot of one-liners and does just fine with it is Bill Goldberg.
Goldberg only speaks in one-liners.
That's right. That being said, and half of it is just his look, but I thought Bill Goldberg, he kind of redeems this movie existing. He's huge, he's imposing, he's like more than happy to sit there and just chew the scenery, and he's great.
I like his design. He almost looks like a slightly more traditional Santa Claus.
With a little Viking thrown in.
But also, instead of having a reindeer, he has I think it has a special name. But
the hell deer.
Yeah, it's a hell deer, but it's actually just a giant buffalo.
It is.
Bison.
I was watching the special features, and so they were trying to look, and eventually they kind of want to do a more traditional, like, 12 reindeer or something, but they're like, we can't use animatronics for that many. We can't really do guys in suits. Well, what if we do like one really powerful thing? They were thinking like Blazing Saddles, how Mongo rides, the ox everywhere. So they got this live bison on the set, and they would periodically like try to do things dressed up, like put horns on it. Apparently, the reason it looks white in the movie is they covered it in baby powder. And it sounds like filming with it was like, sometimes it was really cooperative and other times it wasn't. But the big problem was that it was terrified of Bill Goldberg's voice. So whenever Bill Goldberg would deliver his lines or something, the bison would try to escape.
That is like a really big problem.
It is, but it's also a really big compliment to your evil Santa that even Buffalo's afraid of him.
Yeah, but I do not envy the makers of this film. And you mentioned them not having a lot of money from what it sounded like. This movie feels, from like the little bit of research I did, almost like a favor or the director's one shot, because David Steinman, who wrote and directed this, if you look at his credits, this is the only time he wrote and directed, and he only has a few other credits, and they're all like additional crew, like assistant to the director or...
Right, his IMDb page just said known for Inspector Gadget and Castaway, but he did not direct those movies.
Yeah, no, he was like I don't think he was the key grip, he didn't have that honor, but he was like assistant to the director or some sort of assistant in these things, like,
and it looks like
really like small, like these are starter roles. And then he has this as writer and director, and like it's not every day you get to just bounce into the writer-director seat and then nothing else. So I don't know really what his story is, if he finally got his foot in the door and this was his thing, or... Well, yeah, I have no clue.
I don't either. I know that this was, I'm pretty sure, the first film he directed. I don't know if he's directed anything since, and it's just been under the radar. There wasn't a Wikipedia entry for him. IMDb didn't have much to say, but I've also learned that IMDb is not the end-all be-all of movie information.
I will say they are pretty good about giving credit. If you go to like the trivia section, that part can be more dubious. Typically, it's like these are their credits, and it's pretty good about that, I think. So I'm inclined to believe that he hasn't done anything other than this.
Well, and I mean, that's a possibility. Back to the bison real quick, though.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was funny. So, obviously, they did some blue screen scenes with the flying, sleigh and the bison. Apparently, so obviously they would hang them, but they could only do it for 30 seconds at a time because of the weight of the bison. Bill Goldberg, who's somewhere between 200 and 300 pounds, and the weight of the sleigh, they could only do it 30 seconds because they were afraid it would break.
See, this, I don't know if you know this, Duke. This is 2005. Is Goldberg still wrestling, or has he stepped out?
This might have been just when he stepped out. I don't know, because WCW would have been pretty much...
Yeah, 5 years ago defunct.
Right, and I know that he was in WWE for like a short period after that before he came back again later on. So
yeah, because Goldberg is sort of in and out. So, but I'm pretty sure that this is the period when he is no longer wrestling.
Which it's funny because like he was talking in his interview, like he was more than eager to do all of his own stunts. For instance, the part where Nick has a boss who's Jewish and runs a deli,
Mr. Green.
And at one point, he gets Bill Goldberg dives through the deli table at him.
Like, if you know the Goldberg spear, he does that right through like a glass.
Right, and that was Bill himself doing that because it was funny because during the interview he was constantly like, yeah, well, in wrestling you don't have you have to do everything like right in front of everybody. You don't have all these extra tricks and stuff to make it look good. So he was like, this is way easier. He also stabbed that man with his own menorah, which was very sad.
Yes, that was very sad.
Cry every time.
Mr. Green, I'll guess I'll touch a little bit on cast. Mr. Green was Saul Rubinek, and he was in good... Actually, all the actors here, or at least like, maybe not all, but a lot of the actors are like actual actors, and like even Nicholas and Mac, although this was like an early role for them, they went on to do more,
right?
Which was a kind of a surprising thing for me. But Saul Rubinek, he was in Unforgiven and True Romance, but who cares about those? Because he was also in Death Wish: The Face of Death, which I'm pretty sure is Death Wish 5. Yeah, I'm pretty.
Did he play the face of death?
No, I don't. It's been a while since I've seen Death Wish 5. But it's probably great from what I remember. He was also in I Love Trouble, which is a movie I don't think people really know that much about, but I like it. So
let's just say that's we could probably get away with an episode on that one.
Yeah,
it's a little different, but it's kind of it's a good movie that a lot of people have just not heard of or seen.
Apart from Saul Rubinek, we've talked a lot about Bill Goldberg, but Bill Goldberg, he has a lot more acting credits than I thought.
Right.
I mean, IMDb credits, every wrestling thing he ever did on there.
Right.
But apart from that...
I know right off the top of my head, he was in The Longest Yard, the remake, the Adam Sandler one. And he wasn't the only wrestler in there either.
Stone Cold was in there.
He was, and The Great Khali.
I can, pinpoint the exact period in which that movie was made.
Right.
But he was also in Looney Tunes Back in Action, Universal Soldier: The Return. This was a credit, and I thought this was funny, but he is in the music video for Megadeth's Crush 'Em because that song was attached to the Universal Soldier movie. I'm not even sure if they filmed extra stuff for it or if it's a matter of we've just taken footage from the movie and put it into the music video.
Yeah.
So technically he gets the credit. And, of course, Duke, he's in the greatest movie of all time.
Ready to Rumble. Coming soon.
To this channel. Nicholas is Douglas Smith.
He did a lot of TV. In fact, I think he's done his rounds in all of the CSIs.
Yes.
But the two movies that I have heard of that people might know, these are not cult classics. These are just movies that were made. Uh, he was in Ouija and Bye Bye Man,
Yes.
which I mostly know because it spawned many great memes.
Yeah, because it was awful and everybody hated it and made memes of it. But yeah, that's the thing is like looking at his filmography, it's like, oh, well, this thing is like rated good, but I don't know any of these things.
Well, and it's hard to find a lot of movies in which he had a major part, because that's one thing I've tried to look for too. Is like, okay, they were in this movie, but did they have a prominent role?
Mm-hmm. I made a note that he was also in 12 Deadly Days, which was a YouTube Red Christmas like anthology horror show. If any of you guys remember YouTube Red, I don't know how old our audience is.
Well, look,
Back in 2016.
I don't even remember YouTube Red hardly. To show you how much of an impact it made. But hey, at least he was treading in familiar territory.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. In fact, I actually tried to look to see if the cast was in Christmas-related crap. So some of them were, actually,
Well,
apart from Nicholas.
If I might do a couple here.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to do my favorite, Pastor Timmons.
Mm-hmm.
He was played by Dave Thomas, who's had a very interesting career. The whole time I was watching this, I kept looking at him and I'm like, I know him. Why do I know him? Well, if you want to know a little facts about the Duke, I'm an insomniac, which means I watch a lot of whatever sitcoms they dump on the late night, TV. So he played a prominent role in a series called Grace Under Fire, but he also had his own show. He was a comedian, and he was in another movie that I very much want to cover, Strange Brew.
For me, what he's most famous for is what was called SCTV, Second City Television Network, and that was a sketch comedy show from Canada, and it had John Candy in it. Rick Moranis was also attached to it, so that's Strange Brew, if I remember correctly, started as sketches that were on SCTV. And he even went on to like help do the story for Spies Like Us, and he wrote and directed Strange Brew with Rick Moranis.
And he also made an appearance in Stripes, which John Candy was also in.
Yeah.
He's had a good career.
Yeah, he's had a good career.
And he is funny.
However, he hasn't done a ton recently, I feel like, that really seem, for me, like SCTV is like a really high watermark. I don't want to say everything's been downhill since then, but I don't feel like anything's been as impactful since then.
You gotta understand, Bones, that sometimes in life you only get one Strange Brew.
Yeah, that's true.
Another actor who made an impression was Robert Culp. He plays the grandpa in this one, and he's another TV actor, but I was just kind of amazed about just the sheer length of his TV career. He was in things from like The Rifleman and stuff to like much later stuff. I'm trying to think of some examples, but it's more of an example of like try to watch a lot of TV and not run into him.
If you've sat and watched a television station that plays old shows, I guarantee you he's been on every single show that is in that rotation.
And if old TV shows aren't your thing, if you've played Half-Life 2, he does some voice work in that one.
Yes, he's Dr. Wallace Breen in Half-Life 2. But let's not forget, he's also in Silent Night, Deadly Night 3.
Once again, you got the cross-pollination with the evil Christmas movies.
Oh, excuse me, it's Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. Better watch out. I would hate for somebody to accidentally get, the one without the subtitle.
Oh, that's true. And then that leaves our good friend Mary/Mac, who was played by Emily de Ravin. How would you pronounce that?
I think it's Emily de Raven.
De Raven?
Like, it's a funny way of spelling Emily, but I'm pretty sure it's Emily. Then her middle name it's D. Like, it's not It's not a D attached to the word raven.
It's
They're
not
two
a French
separate
thing.
words. I don't know.
We're not cultured.
I have no clue how to pronounce it.
Well, one of her first major roles was Beastmaster, which is good for the cult universe here. She was also in the remake of The Hills Have Eyes that was made in 2006.
Which was much better than it should have been.
I watched it a long time ago, but I remember having a pretty favorable opinion of it.
She was also in Lost. I think she was in like the entire series of Lost.
Which is a pretty big deal. That was a huge show.
And although this wasn't a big role, she was also in Public Enemies with Johnny Depp, directed by Michael Mann. And apart from that, I think we've really covered all who are in this movie.
Yeah, I think that covers all of the notable stars and stuff. So what else?
I guess I should. Oh, I should mention two other people. Wanda Ferreton, I believe is how you pronounce her name, was a stunt actress in this film. Now there's a scene that takes place in a strip club where Santa, of course, the preacher played by Dave Thomas is not a very good boy.
No, not at all.
Goes to dens of iniquity and spends the church's money there. But Wanda is a stunt woman, and she's in that scene, and that is how she met Bill Goldberg, and they proceeded to get married a few months after the movie, and I believe they're still married to this day. And she didn't even want, like, the only reason she was in this movie is because she thought Jeff Goldblum would be in this movie. She did not know it was actually Bill Goldberg.
She traded up.
In
my humble opinion.
So I think that is a very interesting little thing. And one more actor, I don't think he's credited, but he is in this. Also in the strip club scene as an extra is Vince Russo.
Oh, and for those of you who don't know Vince Russo, he's a fairly infamous wrestling writer/booker who worked for both the WWE and WCW. He made some decisions that were interesting.
Yeah, it's I was kind of surprised when I saw that he was attached to this movie.
It's a very interesting group of people that they assembled for this.
It's a case of low budget but with a budget, or big budget without a budget. I don't know. It's like, oh, well, you have like real actors here.
Real actors and real set pieces and
like
real special effects.
That's the thing about the effects is, I know we've talked about, the Hell Deer, but the effects for this movie are pretty good. I mean, there's explosions going off.
And they put them to use in some creative ways, because that's another thing I'll give this movie is Bill Goldberg finds some very interesting ways to kill people.
There's a lot of effort that's put into a movie called Santa's Sleigh, Well,
and the weirdest thing for me about this movie is I think I saw this mentioned in a review, and I was like, that's 100% correct. This is not a movie for kids at all.
Yeah, no, don't let your kids watch this.
There's like nudity, the language is horrible, and all that stuff. But at the heart, this is it kind of still has that heartwarming Christmas like vibe at the very center of all of it, which is just very strange. It never feels like it's trying to take I don't know the word, but it's not trying to take from Christmas. It's not a big piece of commentary on it. It's just that, wouldn't it be great if Bill Goldberg speared people as Santa Claus?
I feel like there's some parts that are supposed to be a little bit satirical or biting, but for the most part, it is sort of these weird story beats that are wholesome being inserted in there, like Nicholas's relationship with his grandpa, or even, I guess, Nicholas's evolving relationship with Mac over the course of the story. And, it ends with Mac and her family blowing up Santa with a bazooka.
Well, they thought it was Santa.
Oh,
he
yeah.
escaped.
He escapes. Yes, he does escape, doesn't he? A funny bit is Mac's family is like they're constantly shooting. They're not really in the movie that much, but it's just sort of always alluded to. Oh yeah, they're like at the gun range or whatever. And at the end, she meets up with them again, and well, they all have guns.
And he shoots the sleigh out of the sky with basically a bazooka that was bought with him from his friend's Marlboro points, basically, which I thought was great.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice touch.
Another interesting touch was they have a scene where it's a flashback, and it's when the grandpa, who was an angel, first met Satan's son. They challenged each other basically to like a curling match that, if the angel won, then he would have to turn his day of slayings into basically what would become Christmas, or otherwise he would go to hell. But it's done in a Rankin Bass style.
Yeah.
If you've seen Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or like Santa Claus is Coming to Town, it's animated
or
that way.
Mad Monster Party.
Or Mad Monster Party,
plug.
You should go see that review.
But yeah, no, it's not done as well as Rankin Bass. No. I'm sure that they were on a time crunch.
It was still a neat little...
Yeah, no, it was kind of a nice touch.
But and there's also another thing I'm going to say, there's no shortage of Bill Goldberg Santa Claus action in this. He's always either killing somebody, crashing through something, or delivering a one-liner.
Yeah, the people drama is not... I'm talking about this like it's a giant monster movie, but the people drama, apart from the Bill Goldberg action, it's not bad, but it's also not it does not overburden the movie.
No, the next moment, you see Bill Goldberg coming around the corner. I'm just looking to spread a little Yuletide fear. Just stuff like that, 24/7.
Just 24/7. The movie even ends after the credits with Bill Goldberg saying, "Who's next?" So even after the credits, we are treated to classic Bill Goldberg lines.
It's a pity there was never a second.
Yeah, for real. Let's talk about the reviews real quick. This movie, I think it's like got a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like 5 stars on IMDb.
Forget 'em. I'm sorry they didn't have enough money to bribe the reviewers like everybody else.
Well, I'm going to say I kind of agree with the reviews here.
E2 Bones?
E2. From what I saw from like other reviewers, a lot of the consensus was this is fun, this is stupid. Or the people who really didn't like it was like, this is just like trash, which I wouldn't go that far. This is like a 5-star, It is dumb, but it is fun. And if you are going to watch a Christmas movie and you've already watched all the classics, or you don't think you can sit through, something serious, this is a good put in. If
you watch the Santa Claus every year and it's time to, find something to give it a break, there's Santa's Sleigh.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I really enjoyed this one. It is stupid, but at the same time, that's kind of, especially for this channel and stuff, it's kind of sometimes some of the things I'm looking for. I'm looking for like the strange, like, why did they make this? And
well, money.
Well, yeah, but I mean, honestly though, this is probably not the biggest, blockbuster idea they could have came up with. This was just like, I think they're just having fun.
Well, I
mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that they hoped to recoup all their money and make some on top of that.
I feel like this movie, I mean, maybe not ahead of your time, because you do have like Silent Night, Deadly Night, which it's not, although it's not like literally Santa Claus is evil, you do have like the evil Santa in that, and there's some other evil Santa movies from back in the day, but I feel like now
it's cliche.
Yeah, now it's cliche. Now it's like you go to Netflix and there's 300 evil Santa or like Christmas horror movies that were probably pumped out solely to be put on Netflix and to take up space.
Right.
So this was a little ahead of its time.
Right, except that, like I said, I don't get a pumped out feeling from this at all. I feel like as dumb as it was, they put a lot of effort into it. Yeah, like I said, I like strange movies. Heck, I would even go as far to say as I like some of my movies a little on the dumb side every once in a while. I think this movie should be witnessed once at least.
Yeah. If you watch that first scene and you want to, again, like we said at the beginning, if you watch the first scene and you like it, then you will like the rest of the movie.
And if it does nothing for you, then I would plan on the rest of the movie doing nothing for you, because it's very upfront about what it is.
Although it is much better than a lot of the Christmas crap, or like the Christmas horror crap that I've seen. I think as far as Christmas horror movies go, quotations around the horror part,
Right.
Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 is still probably the pinnacle.
Well, and if there hadn't been illness and Christmas things to go to, we might have covered it. But there's always next year.
Yes, there's always next year.
So if you're all done with Santa's sleigh here, I'll go ahead and set us up, because the ball's back in my court for next week.
Yep.
And my pick is Return of Godzilla, also known here in the States as Godzilla 1985.
Yep.
I recently saw Godzilla -1, and it's put me in a Godzilla mood. Which, by the way, if you're listening to this and it's still in theaters where you're at, go see that. Not a whole lot of movies have come out this year that I would give the rub, but that one was pretty good.
Since we're talking about this, we will, God willing, be back on a normal schedule of uploading. I got the flu out of my system. I think I'm good to go several years without the flu now.
You got it all out in one go.
I got it all out in one glow.
One very long go.
Exactly. And, Duke, you also dealt with flu-like crap earlier, so...
And, geez, I was quite infirmed.
I think we're both done being sick, and we are going to be able to have a normal upload schedule again. So, where can you find us?
Well, you can find us on CastBox, Apple Podcast. You can also find us on Spotify and YouTube.
But thank you again for listening. Feel free to hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this Christmas content.
We hope that we have earned your subscription today.
But if you, here's the homework section. If you had a particular cult Christmas movie that you enjoyed, feel free to let us know.
Me and a friend have a tradition where we watch a few terrible Christmas specials every year too. So if you know any of those, throw them right in. Need more ammo.
But yeah, we'll catch you next time.
Keep it cult.